Welcome to Forever Exiled. I'm Justin, AK Tags.
Oh, that was fast. I'm Tyler, AK. No, I'm just Tyler, Wrecker of Days. I don't
Threw
AKA.
you off of that one? Did I get you going?
You were like, yeah. So anyway, not going to say that. Sorry, I peeked there. But yeah, though, that was, he got me.
Welcome.
Got me. I'm Wrecker, Tyler of Days.
That's the one he is. Or, yep, that's right. Anyway, big shout out to, thank you so much, Gabriel and Nigel, for joining up in our Patreon this week, and everybody else who resubbed up. Patreon is our access to After Dark. It's our podcast after the podcast where we go crazy, right? It's just nuts.
We do.
The whole thing.
Yeah, no clothes, no censors, no notes.
Nope.
It's just a whole bunch of no's. And
it's just a bunch of no's. It is a lot of fun, but thank you everybody who supports the podcast. We really appreciate it. And as normal, whoa, did your camera just jump there?
No, you're frozen to me, man. Oh, not anymore.
Not
anymore.
I was maybe holding still. You did a little jump. Wait, I literally just saw a thing on Trello say you're back online. What do you mean I'm back online? I wasn't offline.
Your audio was working the whole time.
This day is not it's not going well. We'll see how it goes. Yeah, buddy.
Just let's thank people, because thanking people is more important than complaining. But then I want you to complain about your life.
No, I never complain about my life.
I know you don't. And actually, I have a comment about that today. I was thinking about how I was going to talk about this week, and it's going to be about you.
That's not much about your week, but also just quickly get it out there. Our Discord. If you're not on there, get on our Discord. Come and say hi. It is it's a lot of fun. A lot of people chatting in there, and 2121 in game still. I still use it a lot in PoE 2 because I play Path of Exile 2.
Good for you.
How was your week,
good
buddy?
For you. I had a good week, man.
Did you?
Yeah, no, things are good. Just chilled. Was it this week, last week? You know, it's like the remnants of having a birthday week in the house.
Yeah.
My son's really getting into street hockey, which is something we did lots of. And so there's no one to play with, kind of thing. So he does a lot of it on his own, and we have slightly inclined driveways, so it's not optimal.
At least you're on a cul-de-sac, though.
Yeah, definitely. So anyway, he's like going through the emotions of being, you know, like there's like that really emotional state for, well, I guess it's later with guys, but like around 10 years old, 9, 11, whatever. And it's just like everything's meltdown central.
Yeah.
Everything's like, hang on, son, hang on. It's like, never mind. And just like walks away as opposed to just waiting. You know what I mean? So anyway, he's not allowed to do that. He has to come back and tell me. But side note, so anyways, just those little things like, you know, he's really excited to get this street puck instead of the other street puck. But then he comes home and that street puck's just way too heavy. You know what I mean? It's more like an ice hockey puck, pretending to be realistic or whatever. And it just doesn't work with the plastic blades that they have for street hockey. He gets all upset about that. And then, you know, so we bought him just because like his favorite color is pink, but they don't make any pink sticks unless they're ice hockey sticks. We're not spinning.
You can get tape though, right?
Yeah, well, that's exactly what we did. So we went out and bought some pink tape and wrapped it up. But then I tell him like, hey, listen, like hockey tape for street hockey, like that's just not like, it's just for show, man. Unless you're using it for your handles and just your, like if you shoot right, your left hand, or if you shoot left, your right hand, but like really only for your upper hand. Otherwise, like it gets in the way until it rubs off. Like it's a pain in the butt. And he gets all emotional about that, but we buy it anyway because you know, I know he's going to like it later. And his expectations are set. Like I ask him how many shots it took to rub off the hockey tape, and he's like, "Oh, it was like 10 shots. I shoot really hard." And
that's awesome.
Yeah, well, it's great. I like it. And so he's kind of going through the emotions. And now that it's like, you know, his birthday week, the weather sucks, so he wasn't playing. We got him a hockey net for his birthday, right? Or that was for Christmas. Cool. And the weather's kind of, it's just been kind of crappy weather for hockey outside. And so anyway, he's, but now he's really getting back into it. Before he's like, oh, I feel so bad for not using my gifts. And, you know, just the whole like emotional 10-year-old boy bit. And so now he's starting to play like all the time. And he's getting used to like his puck that he actually likes. He broke because they're cheap plastic and crappy. And I'm like, that's fine. Like, we'll buy you 5 more for $10 and they'll last. And if you go through them too much, then you spend your own money on it. If you go through them at a decent pace, we'll buy them for you. And we bought him a second stick so we can shoot the puck with them. We have one of those cloth goalies that you put up on the net.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like you Velcro. It's like a thick material, but then it has a 5-hole I forget actually what the lower block or lower glove are, and then the two top corners, right? So yeah, you have your 5 holes, and it's just, help practice your accuracy. Well, I was using the heavier puck.
Mm-hmm.
I ripped it.
Oh no.
It was too heavy. I didn't even think that it was made that poorly. It was too heavy. So we're going to have to do some jimmying so that the goalie still has a decent glove save. And but yeah, it's been fun. He's discovered that he's into tennis balls, right? But we're going to buy him a hockey ball because Canadian Tire has a nice pink hockey ball for $1.50 or $2.
Oh, sweet.
And then I have 100 tennis balls left over from when I used to know what the definition of athleticism was.
You could still do it.
Well, I mean, tennis balls last forever. So especially, and so I was shooting and I'm having a great time. I'm hitting the corner and everything. And I haven't touched a hockey stick in over a decade. And I'm like, man, pure athlete right here. I'm the best. Yeah, you betcha. And then and then I snap it one more time and I'm feeling all like, hey, Oliver, check this out. I'm going to hit the goalie right in the head. Well, it was straight, but it went over the net and it smashed the security camera above the garage. And then it smacked the driveway. And I'm like, no.
Did it break?
No. No. It's set up a little slow. We'll see how the recordings go from that point forward. And it's wireless and battery. And so, you just kind of plug it in. It's those dumb Amazon Blink ones, which we have really 50-50 quality on. I don't know if I want to replace them or find just kind of succumb to how crappy they are and move on to another security, home personal security system, not something that you subscribe to. And so I'm like, did we just get a 1 or 2 melons? One camera just stopped working the day after the warranty expired.
Oh, dang.
And it's just, and then this one, of course, but we go through batteries like crazy.
Yep.
So I'm like, maybe we go solar powered. I think we still get enough sun despite the amount of overcast weather we have that solar powered would work well. So
your one in the garage would be easy enough to do powered because we could just go straight through the wall.
Yep.
And get power. Your entrance one's a little harder.
Yes. But the thing with that right now is at some point we actually want to redo the whole garage. Yeah. We're saving our money for that because that's where a huge amount of our energy is being wasted.
Yep.
So much cold comes in, so much heat goes out. And so we actually want to redo the garage, re-insulate the walls. But it was built in a time where, what's that stuff called that we always have to...
You don't have asbestos.
Yes, all over the place. Every wall has it. So when we had to do our... when we had to rebuild for the flood, cost us an extra $15,000 because the hazmat team comes in and does this and that and another thing. And when they were getting rid of the subfloor, even with the insured work that was being done upstairs, they actually had to replace the subfloor because they couldn't get rid of the laminate that was joined together by the asbestos. So they had to actually cut out the whole subfloor. So it was pretty nuts. Anyway, it's been a fun week. As a parent now of a hockey kid, being I was the kid that was always on my blades or shooting on the driveway or whatever it was, wanting to be out there for forever. It's like, dude, Dad, I got 10 minutes till bedtime. 10 minutes, that's 100 shots,
That's fun.
So, yeah, it's fun. It is fun. And then my daughter, my wife's huge into hockey. She's every Canucks game, that's what we're watching. Doesn't matter what's going on, what plans are. If it's date night, but there's a Canucks game on, date night starts after the Canucks game.
Sure.
And you can watch it with me if you want, honey. That's kind of what she's like, which is great. But my daughter,
no interest.
Absolutely not. She is in a world of her own. She's like, hockey. I'm like, do you have a favorite team, Violet? And she's like, no. Just goes off to her bedroom to daydream.
That's awesome.
But she does like Austin Matthews.
Who's that?
Superstar.
Ooh.
From Arizona, but he's been playing on the Leafs. So kind of like Quinn Hughes, we pretend he's Canadian instead of American because we love them and they play on our Canadian teams.
Why does she like him in particular?
Because he's not Connor McDavid. In all the McDonald's commercials, do you remember the old commercials with I think it was Gretzky and Messier? It was for McDonald's. I think, is that who it was?
Chips too. There was chips. I remember.
Yeah, well, Messier did Lay's chips, but then Gretzky's he's hanging out in the hockey rink just after hours or whatever, doing his little shots, and someone comes up and challenges him. I'm pretty sure it was Messier. And he's like, hey, okay, yeah. So they're at center ice and they'll be like, hey man, okay. It's like they're playing Donkey. You remember Donkey? I do something, then you got to copy it or you get a letter. So same kind of thing, but they're at center ice. They're like, okay, hit the crossbar. Right. And then it just keeps getting a little bit more extreme. Like, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Hit
They have
the
to bounce
left
it all
post,
over the place.
right
I do
post,
remember that.
Right. And then like by the end of the commercial, they're like higher than the bleachers. They're in the rafters. And it's like, okay, off the crossbar, off the CN tower, off the scoreboard.
McDonald's?
Yeah, it's McDonald's. So, but now they're redoing that, but with Connor McDavid and Austin Matthews. But because she knows about how Connor McDavid is, but we've played, and like just how superstar he is, but because the Canucks have played him a lot, and when he's phenomenal, but on the ice, he's a spaz. Like you can get under his skin really easy. So he does a lot of cheap, great guy off the ice apparently, but like he's a real hacker, cross checker. Like he's kind of dirty when you get under his skin. And so my wife and I were always, always like mouthing him off. So because she always sees the McDonald's commercials, she doesn't pick
obviously.
Superstar Gretzky. She picks Austin Matthews.
That's funny.
So that's it. That was my week, Justin. Are you glad to hear about my hockey week and my hockey family? I never even played ice hockey. I can barely skate. Street hockey?
All day.
Got the creds, man. Got the creds.
That's where people know you from.
Tell me about your week.
It was good. It was, we had Eth over, which was fun. So he was out visiting. So we got to hang out with him a bunch, and then him and Matthew. And then what else did we do? I was home with Sophia. She was sick for a couple days this week.
Including today?
Today was a little bit different. She is home today, but she was home on Monday and Tuesday. And she's not she was throwing up on Monday, and she's not a happy thrower upper. I have my kids are definitely on opposite spectrums. They're all over the place. Sophia is very much like her mom. Does not like to puke. Does not want someone there holding her hair, rubbing her back. She just hates it. Whereas like Logan is just like, get away from me. I'm on this. Same with Maya. But so yeah, her and I hung out, and I tried to work a lot from home. But what else did we do? My MRI got moved up, so that's good. I was supposed to go in March. It got booked for originally in March 6th, I think, but they called me yesterday. And I had been told I was like 25th on the cancellation list, and it was going to be really hard to get me in on cancellation because I need a double cancellation because it's
double
two sets of
XY
MRIs.
square.
But they called me last night, and they're like, hey, we can get you in on Monday. Like,
whoa.
Oh, okay, cool.
Very nice.
Skip the line. That's why you talk nice to the staff.
Just like John Hamm could have skipped it.
Yeah.
You don't watch commercials because you download everything.
Is that skip the dishes though? I think I've seen skip the dishes stuff.
Guy. Yeah. And his comments always like, should have skipped it, could have skipped it.
Anyway,
congrats, man. That's awesome.
Yep. I'm excited to go get that done. What else do we do?
It's kind of weird. I guess you hope you find something, because having no answers sucks. So it's like, I hope they find something. I don't even
know what I'm hoping for. Yeah, I'm hoping that they see something.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means in the end, but if I'm spending the money, I want to know that I don't want to. I'll be like, oh, everything's great, which I do want everything to be great, but I'm like, no, I don't. Like, I just paid all that money. Tell me there's some. Yeah. Just tell me a stretch. I don't care. Just give me something.
Only Canadian in Canada that pays for an MRI. Justin, here he is.
No, there's definitely a lot, but I was not going to wait the time period. So, we took the kids to the dentist too. Did that yesterday. My week has been very hard to work, but it has been insanely busy. But I'm right now trying to balance. We've got some sick staff at work, which makes things crazy for Christina. So I'm trying to be Superman. And
you always are, Justin.
Yeah, it was. You know what? It was. Besides, today I feel like garbage. Tyler and I are starting late. It's my fault. I don't feel good today. I feel off. I'm so much pain with my back the last couple days.
You've also already missed two very obvious references that you're supposed to reply to.
I'm sorry. I'm not there. I told Ty I was going to be a little slow. So
you'll have to excuse my friend. He's a little slow. The town's back that way. At least you got that. That's
definitely me. And then the only thing I wanted to throw in here, because this is when we talk about our personal stuff, so I know the people that listen are the people I like. I'm hoping somebody listens from time to time or looks from time to time at the new timestamps, because people have bugged us for timestamps forever, and I have always been against it. but I noticed it could work with Spotify now. So I was like, all right, if they're making it for podcast specific stuff, I'll start doing it. But I don't listen to our episodes. I don't go through and pick like moments where we change topics. That's way too much work. So I've tried using time-stamped transcripts of our episodes to have AI read it, to try and give me the stuff. It has become exhausting. Unfortunately, DaVinci Resolve does not let you export with timestamps in a proper way. And so I've just not been able to get it to parse the information properly. I was using ChatGPT to teach me how to use Python to edit these files to then put them back into ChatGPT to get it to read it. And I was like, I thought I had it working. And then what it started giving me, I looked at them a couple times and I was like,
oh yeah, what was it last week? You sent it to me. You still posted the timestamp.
I did last week, but 2 weeks ago I took it out and it was at 47 minutes. Something
you took
about
it
me
out? You
talking about spaghetti bolognese. Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
That was like 2 weeks ago.
And you did. You talk about spaghetti bolognese, but not at like the
Not
1
at
hour 45
minutes.
mark. Yeah.
So
All right.
I'm not going to remove any now. I'm just going to leave them in and see if people notice that they're wrong. Like I have one. I'm just looking at our ones from last week. Strategies and builds. Okay, maybe exploring the lore. No clue when we would have done that. I mean, some of them weren't too bad last week, but we'll see how this week goes. You never know what you're going to get. But I'm just sticking with it. I'm not going to. But
you're going to insist on doing it?
Yeah, because people do like them.
They're going to click on this. Oh, lore.
They talk about lore.
They like lore.
And we're like spaghetti bolognese. Yeah, so hopefully they help people that want to jump around in the episode, but it's not what they're meant for.
But I'm not double checking it. I don't care, but I hope it's helpful.
Somebody said once, well, just even if you put one that when you start the PoE talk, and I was like, no. First off, 2 reasons. One, I have to listen then. Like our episodes, I can't record and go, hey, at 19 minutes right now, we talked about PoE. Because the fact is 19 minutes when I actually do the edit is probably sticking closer to like 16 or 17 minutes because we had the whole beginning part and then we had our silences come out. But also, what happens if we talk about Path of Exile at one point, then we keep talking about our life, then we
jump around all the time.
We do whatever we want. So listen or don't. I don't care. I just enjoy it or don't enjoy it. I did write a note. I'm going to keep it to myself, but yeah, if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. But this is us, and you get it all. Yeah, but otherwise, it was a good week. I played some Path of Exile. I actually played a decent amount, just not as much as I would have wanted to. We're still working our way through Fast and the Furious. It's taken a little bit because we don't have time.
Man, that's got to be so.
We started the last one last night, and I fell asleep.
Wow.
I was so out of it.
So you've been to space.
They did go to space in the last episode 1.
I like that you call them episodes because there's so many of them.
There are so many that I have got. You get to a point real quick with those movies where you're just like, sure. Yep, that's feasible. Yeah. So, they did go to space, and now we've got
shoulder
one more
shrugging
left.
Belief.
You know what's weird to me though with them is, what's the guy's name that died? Ryan. Is it Ryan? His character's name's Brian in the movie, but he died in a car crash. The main guy from it. I thought it was so weird that they didn't write him off somehow into the movies where they could then he's just alive and taking care of kids in the Fast and the Furious right now. Like that's what his role is. He's at home taking care of kids, and they don't want to bring him.
Digitized him at all, or is it just they reference him every now and then?
They just reference him. All of a sudden, his wife, who is Dom's sister, started showing up to help them save the world, and I was like, you should have just kept her out then. Like her husband's going to be like, yeah, you go, I'll stay here with the kids. Like, it was just, I don't know. I thought it was a little weird, but otherwise, that's my only constructive criticism.
AI. We were just talking about lore.
The lore of, I was going to say Forever Exiled, Fast and the Furious. They're so dumb. They don't even name them all the same. One of them is literally just called F9. Do you know how hard it is to search for a movie called F9? It's not easy. It was so annoying, but yeah, anyway, that's what we've been working our way through.
Do you know how many naughty nurses 29s there are? Oh, what?
Too many. I just want part 7. But no, you know what? It was a good week. It's
living the dream, man.
Yeah. It's work is awesome. It's very busy, and it's just getting busier. Busy. But it is a good busy. It is. Yeah. So,
right on, man.
We are getting close to the point where I'm going to have to figure somebody else out, though.
Oh, is it happening?
It might be my son, though. I might just do it with Logan. I might actually give him some part-time work, because then I'm not giving somebody else power, and I don't like to give power.
This way you can. Oh man, but he's not going to need his license.
No, I don't know. To be honest, though, a lot of the stuff I want him for right now is just to.
It's going to take him an hour and a half to do a 15-minute drive with our commute system, and he's going to charge you the whole time.
Okay.
Not my money.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. But anyway, right. Yeah, good week.
I love that you're finally succumbing to relinquishing a tiny bit of control, needing a tiny bit of help, and you get the person that you can control the most in your 100%. Life. Out of 8.5 billion people, there's no one else you can control more than Logan.
Yeah.
Or any of your, I guess 3 out of 4 kids.
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool.
What do we got this week in PoE?
Another apology.
Oh, yeah?
Last week, we got the apology for communication, customer service, all that kind of stuff, right? And this week, we got an apology for Path of Exile 1's situation. That was it. That's all the news that there was.
Yeah, they put out a hot fix, but otherwise, yeah.
Oh, yeah, just yesterday. What day is today? Today's the 31st, so yeah, that was yesterday. They fixed a crash, so if that crash was impacting you, hallelujah.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of people are still having issues with crashing, which is too bad. I haven't had any, which is lucky, but
I've actually came across a new well, maybe it's always been there, but I never came across this with all the different, you know how many times I've like gone through and leveled and started something, leveled, always doing the vanilla experience, right? That big like gladiator guy that comes out of the stones and you fight him on a platform underground.
Awesome.
Yeah. And in Titan's Grotto, he goes like completely invulnerable. Like just, that's it. All of a sudden he stops taking damage. I'm like, is this new?
Like forever?
I don't remember. Yeah. I just like, I've run out of mana flasks trying to do damage. My SRS, or I guess they're not SRS anymore. My Raging Spirits. My Frost Mages are just like, nope.
Get out, really?
Yeah. Nothing.
Wow.
So I just have to like stand there and restart.
Timer? Was that for a certain amount of time?
No. Well, I mean, I'm not going to sit there for many minutes, but I'll sit there for a couple minutes. But as soon as I find like he's doing animations where I know I've typically dealt damage, so no crashes for me though.
Interesting. So do you want to just jump right into their video?
Yeah. Well, first, hang on. Like, so do you have 2 notes in here?
I don't know when I wrote those. There was one to make sure
they do not look familiar to me, and one of them looks like I was on crack if I wrote it.
Uh-oh.
So, you're frozen again. I thought maybe you were like frowning at me for cutting down your notes.
Hold on.
You need better internets, man. You need bigger GBs. I heard the crickets.
Yo.
Oh, video.
So I think I know what it is. I think it's a cable actually running to my computer.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Rats getting at it?
It better not be. You kept your recording running, right?
Bet your buns. I'm at 31 minutes and 3 seconds. And that was like the best 3 minutes of my life.
All right. So we're back. And you were right in the middle of a very animated conversation, which is too bad because I missed it all.
No, that's okay. You're a dick. But how's our backup?
Oh, the backup's always running.
Oh, dude.
What?
My head is actually shining. Look.
Yeah, it's always shining.
Really? That much? Yeah. Like, I know it is when like the outside window's there, but I'm using my wife's
the fancy stuff.
The light that she uses so that there's always light on her face when she's broadcasting.
The beauty light. I get it.
It makes it extra chromy. Extra chronomancery. So anyway, no, I was saying like you have 2 notes here in our note-taking thing. And Justin never, ever, ever writes notes. So I always assume those are my notes.
They're yours.
And I just don't remember what they were, or I voice typed them, and Google obviously screwed it up because Google always screws up my voice typing.
Yeah.
And so I'm not sure if I was on drugs, and I don't do drugs. I wasn't sure if I was on drugs and don't remember being on drugs, or if Justin had something to say. But what I wanted to ask you, Justin, is do any of these things become
Recollect.
mute based on GGG's announcement this week. For example, like if you're complaining about the state of the game or something, well, I mean, Jonathan said that Path of Exile 2 is kind of crappy right now. Paraphrasing, but he said like, it's on fire. It's in a garbage state right now.
So the only 2 comments that I wrote was one, to add a couple meows into the episode for Dope. So there you go, Dope. There's a meow. We've now meowed, or I've meowed. Not sure. I don't remember how that came up. It was in a conversation in 2121. And so
that's obviously a Super Troopers reference, Justin.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Right, meow.
Did you miss that reference when you were talking with Dope?
Yes.
Where was this? In 2121, you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
Didn't even. Oh, meow. Damn it. Now I feel stupid. I do get it, though. So awesome.
You make me laugh.
You joked there.
Now, that's the first point.
The second point, I'm going to just skip.
Did you catch my meow?
I did.
I said meow. That's the first point. Meow.
The second point I made was mostly just. No, I'm going to skip it
for a bit.
No, I'm going to just leave it. Maybe I'll bring it up in After Dark. But I'm happy with what we do and where we are, and I love that people listen, and I appreciate it. So, no, I'm not going to bring attention to stuff I don't want to bring attention to.
Then let's bring it up in another light. Justin and I are 2 individuals that are having a conversation. Like Justin and I, we've been friends for what, like 3.5 decades.
Long time.
It's been a bit, and we talk, and that's all this is.
Yeah.
Sometimes what we're talking about, we haven't thought about before this conversation. These aren't predetermined conversations. Oh, your internet's gone screwy again. Can you hear me?
Yeah, 1 sec.
Did you guys? I don't know if you're going to hear that, but in case it gets edited out. But Justin was like, "Yeah, 1 sec."
Fuck. All right, whatever. Let's see what happens from that. So we're 2 friends talking.
Yeah, no, but that's it. Like, let's say Justin and I are going to go to a restaurant. We're going to meet up for lunch. I'm not like thinking the whole drive there about what I'm going to say to him.
No.
You know what I mean? Like you go and you talk and you're like, oh yeah, I know this is dumb about what this company's doing that's impacting our mortgage rates, or what this is happening with the government, whatever we're talking about. Server's slow. And then I realize that she's the only server on, and then I feel bad for saying it. You know what I mean? Like that's how it goes. A lot of the times after our episodes, someone will make a comment in Discord or something, and it'll be like, actually this, oh yeah. And then, we'll be like, that's a good perspective. Didn't think of that. You just totally changed my mind. Right. So these are just conversations. You don't have to
also, we don't come back to that
agree.
conversation most of the time, because in the next week, we're on to the next.
Yeah. Stuff has happened.
Yeah. We have said a lot of wrong things, and it's okay.
Right. If you're coming to us for information, go somewhere else. Yeah. We are not a source of information. We are a conversation.
I would say we could be considered a source of like regurgitated. We will regurgitate some of the things Grinding Gear Game says, but when we talk about like how we play the game, our style of playing the game, our thoughts about the game, that should not be taken as anything other than 2 buddies just chatting.
Right.
We don't play the game at a pro level.
Misinformation, that just means we don't understand the game. It's not like we're trying to promote like this is the way it is. Like it just like, I
don't think we've ever said anything is fact when we're talking about our own thing. Even if we talk about a skill, fuck them. So the fact is, we're playing a game, we're having a good time. It's not going to be for everybody, and that's fine. Go and find another Path of Exile podcast.
Oh, I wish you could have seen Justin's face there. He felt so good saying that.
Yeah. Anyway, but thank you to everybody.
That was the only time he smiled all morning.
And it hurt my eyes to do it.
Anyway, we thank you everybody for listening, and it's absolutely fantastic. But just a reminder to maybe some of the new people that have just started to show up since Path of Exile 2's early access came out. We're just 2 buds chatting. Mm-hmm. Not everything we're going to say is right. It's just opinions. Even if we're talking like it's something factual, we're just 2 buds talking. Like that's just how conversations go sometimes. So just take a deep breath.
We're just talking to each other. So
and either enjoy the conversation or don't. But we're not really going to change how we communicate with each other based on people's opinions on how
we haven't changed for 278 episodes. It ain't starting now.
Is it 278? I missed that at the beginning.
Yeah. I re-listened back to number 2 because there was a joke going on in Discord about people wanting to fall asleep. Oh, it made me ill. But I did. We literally read
patch notes for our first 2 episodes.
I don't have episode 1. I look because I keep all of our stuff. I have backups of everything we've ever done. I don't have episode 1. I thought I did.
I was so nervous for so long. Now I show up and my pants are barely done up. And before I was like voice cracking and everything.
Getting ready. Anyway, we clean all that up now so you don't hear all the noises because that just made me ill for our first few episodes. But anyway.
Now, in PoE land, we're starting. So my recording time's different than yours now, but I'm at almost 38 minutes.
No, they should be the same
with all those tech
time.
support silences. I don't know what's that going to be. 30 minutes in. AI, hey, AI timestamp. We're officially never going to reference our personal life for the rest of the episode. Path of Exile 2 start, or Path of Exile in general starts now. Do you have any comments that you care to say regarding Jonathan's apology announcement?
I mean, I have a lot of things I could talk about with regards to his apology. I will say in the end that I don't care. And that's not in a sense of like, I don't care about the game, but I struggle. Even I watched his video and I struggled with the concept of should they or should they not communicate, because every time they communicate, they're going to get blasted from one side or the other. Like I don't see how they ever come out with some sort of communication that makes everybody happy. So if they're doing it just for the sake of feeling like they're doing communication, then okay. But I don't actually care. It doesn't, like, I'm still going to just play the game. I feel for the people who wanted to play PoE 1. That being said, you can still play Path of Exile 1. They have not gotten rid of PoE 1. They're just not bringing out a new league.
So and it's in a great state. Or, sorry, depending where you come from, it's in a great state. For long-term Path of Exile players, it's in one of the best states it's ever been in. Sure, it might be redundant or boring after this amount of time, being in the same state, but it is in...
It's playable for sure. Yeah. So that's why I was kind of like... I did hear that there was like a massive backlash, which I watched his video and knew that was going to happen, that they were just going to get a boatload of people upset with them. I mean, I've said this before, even back when Chris used to do these things. I'm trying to relate it a little bit somewhat to my own business, but like when you do something that's going out to a large group of people, I assume they pre-plan and pre-write and have a script that I would assume. And I listened to his going like, did anybody read this and make some adjustments? Like, I just feel like sometimes they say things they should not say. Like,
can you give me an example? Do you remember
that Path of Exile 2 has had so many people unhappy with how they're playing it? Why would that's an unnecessary it wasn't a needed comment to say that, because, well, I mean, one,
you're only thinking of Path of Exile 1 players with that comment. You're not thinking about the global masses, that's for sure. It's negative marketing unless
it's not positive marketing.
Purely, right? Like, you're only thinking of Path of Exile 1 players with that comment, but more than just Path of Exile 1 players are going to hear the comment. So what are your consequences, right? Which one do you do?
If your target audience was the PoE 1 players, you've actually just given them a bit of fuel to be more upset, because you talked about pulling the PoE 1 players or team to work on the PoE 2 thing. And I mean, to be honest, my very first reaction to Tyler was, who knew, as a joke? Like, obviously this was going to happen. Like, I still honestly do not see how going down the line they manage 2 games. I just don't think it happens. Path of Exile 1 has to die at some point, or find some way to just slowly exist. I cannot see them having... Path of Exile 2's development is not going to slow. Like, it's not like we've hit a point where they're like, okay, now we can calm down and we can chill. No, you can't. Like, this is no surprise to me, but it obviously shows they're putting a ton of work into early access. And I was kind of a little surprised that they would have pulled the PoE 1 guys off, given that they said the PoE 1 team was so incredibly small. And PoE 2 is in early access, and early access kind of gives you the leniency of not updating it super fast, not always being on top of everything. Like, you kind of have a bit of leniency in an early access. So,
but then he also went on to say that the individuals he pulled from PoE 1 are his best devs.
Oh, did he say that?
Well, he's like, how can I now realistically take my best, he didn't say employees, I forget what he said, like my best, whatever description word he used, my best employees off PoE 2 and put them back on PoE 1.
Yeah. And I mean, again, this kind of sucks to have to hear it in such a large scale and to so many people, because that to me makes sense. I know that people don't like it, but like their focus is PoE 2. That I think that it's one of the unfortunate things of them talking in the past, and they've said things way too many times without being able to be sure that they can do whatever they say they're going to do. So just don't say it. Like even in this one, stop saying dates. Just stop it. It always puts you in this spot of like a timeline and a crunch. And unless they're going to come up with some sort of like roadmap for PoE 2, which I would love to see, but I don't think we'll ever see that. But unless they come up with some sort of roadmap, well, don't you think that would be nice if they did though?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. They couldn't even handle their first game.
No, I don't want a roadmap though with any dates. Just a roadmap. Just like this is our plan for what we're going to do.
We're hoping to work on.
It's an infinite timeline.
This is next. Yeah.
But
no weeks,
don't
no
put
months.
Dates, don't put months. I just feel like every time they do it, they just make things so difficult for themselves. But I mean, I feel for him. I feel for their team, but I also go like, I would love to hear them at some point just say Path of Exile 2 is the focus and Path of Exile 1 will get work when we can do it. Like they kind of said it, but they're not upfront about it. And it leaves people in a bit of a lurch, especially because they went on for so long talking about PoE 1's going to exist. We're going to run multiple leagues together. Everything's going to work great. You can swap between games. I remember saying it a long time ago. I don't get it. I don't know how. Like they were barely keeping up with PoE 1. It's not like you can just have this huge influx of developers and all of a sudden things are fine. You're talking about a massively complex game. Those developers have to be like very well versed with the game, I would think, to be able to do some of that work. So yeah, I don't know. I felt bad for people who wanted to play a new league, but I also went like, you can still play PoE 1. It may be not in the state that, or maybe with no, updates or something. I still think they should at least take some time to make their little like side league things and add back in endless delve and all these other things that were just fun for people to do. I don't know why they don't do something like that, which doesn't require them to really develop anything new. It just requires, I don't even know why the server space work. I'm not really sure what it takes to maintain that, but I don't know, man. I'm not sure. I don't know how I totally felt. I know I didn't totally care because in the end I just turned on Path of Exile 2 and I played, and I already knew I wasn't going back to PoE 1. So there was a little selfish part of me was like, sweet, give us your people. Make PoE 2 better.
Yeah. They unfortunately have a long history of being very ambitious, being vocal and public about it, speaking it away like this is going to happen as opposed to this is what we would like to do, and then not at all having a logistical plan to achieve it, and just having this kind of shoulder shrugging attitude from my perspective. I don't know what it's like over there, but I mean, they've described themselves as being on fire multiple times since PoE 2 has come out. So, but having this kind of shoulder shrugging attitude of, we'll figure it out. We'll get there. And Path of Exile 1 to me is, I guess if I was to try and like simplify how you describe it, it's a game with huge ambitions, but at the end of the day, it's like half quality. I know that they work really hard on it, so it's not like half effort, but the game itself is almost like half-assed. You know what I mean? It's like you're not there with everything, right? Like you were there. How long? That game's been around for 10 years, and loot still, I don't even know if it's on the priority list in that game, let alone like low on the priority list. And that's supposed to be the cornerstone of the entire franchise, right? Like that's what the company's named after, grinding for gear. And it's the worst looting experience of any RPG. Sure, compared to Path of Exile 2. Oh, well,
I don't know.
You see, but now you're getting into like all this third party stuff. Sure. Like what they give you from a vanilla aspect, the amount of effort and attitude that they put into the cornerstone of their game is pathetic. And
I would argue against that a little bit. I think that if you look at loot specifically, you could maybe argue that. I think loot got away from them and they never found a way to get back to it. And then it uses third party. But what I will say about Path of Exile 1, Path of Exile 1 is, I would say it is the greatest ARPG ever made. And that is including Diablo 2. And Diablo 2 was my favorite of all time. I think Path of Exile 1 in its current state is the
In its
greatest
current
ARPG.
state, yes. But how long did it take to get there and the different learning curves? And we still feel that they're just constantly rushing. Always like it's like panic mode all the time, right? Just with the 3 leagues, then them thinking that they've only done like 2 4-month leagues when it's been like 3 years straight, just like how they communicate. Like when you hear the different devs talking about when they've only been on PoE 2, they're not talking with PoE 1, just how it all works together. It's always just rushed, right? And like if it ends up working out from the fans' perspective, okay, like whether it's a great place to work at or it always feels like it's on fire, that's between the employee and the employer. If you're making a game for the fans and the fans feel like it's a great game, okay, then the job's done. But they have a long history of just being so ambitious and only being able to get partway there. A great example would be Loot, right? I mean, at what point do they take a step back and be like, we have to fix this? I feel like it like came up once or twice, but it just compounded to the point where they never took responsibility for it, let somebody else deal with the problem, and that was good enough. And from like a working integrity standpoint, that to me isn't like, if it was a company that I was working with and that I had, that wouldn't be acceptable. Of course, that's it getting away from themselves. But then you have something like, their help system in Path of Exile 1. That didn't continue because they didn't anticipate the resources required for it, even though they know their game changes every 3 months. Things like going through the acts and making the Path of Exile 1 acts more difficult, right? Well, they stopped at Act 1 or Act 2, whatever it was, and they never, like, it's just, there's a long history of these things that they say, and then, and then it just doesn't come to fruition because they're too busy, when they're the only ones that control their schedule. They're the only ones that know their resources. They're the ones that know what they can do with the time they have. So you have this long history. And then, of course, you start seeing it with the progress of Path of Exile 2 and the different promises of how the game is going to interact when it's all going to be 1 game, 2 campaigns. I mean, those are entertaining videos to watch now in retrospect, right? And then you see a lot of the interviews on how things are going to work. You look at like Guild MTX. That was a promise that's not going to happen now, according to an email you got.
Well, they said they promised 2 separate types of promises, like just times apart, which is unfortunate.
So, but I'm saying like it's a lot of like, this is the way we are going to do this, and then later on we get oh shoot, it's not going to work out that way. And like, I get progress, I get the learning curve, I get that kind of stuff happens, but you still have to be careful with what you say. And so like and I get that this is a new game.
Ooh, that's a lot of messages.
My wife's having a failed shopping trip. It's her last day off before her next set of work days, and she was planning on dotting a bunch of I's, crossing a bunch of T's, and it's not working out
going
so
well.
For my schmoops. It's not working out so well. So anyway, she is an exception on my do not disturb. My apologies.
Yes, she is.
No actually, I should needed. Actually make sure that's not a, hey, I got in a car accident, I'm dying, I love you. Just a second. Okay.
Still alive?
No panic mode. Yep.
Sweet.
Yep. Just unhappy. But it's just one of those things where it's like, now, if you don't mind, I'm going to use you as an example. Okay. It's not going to be anything offensive. So if you do take something offensive, just know that you're being like my wife and you're twisting it in a way that I totally didn't mean it to be. I will do it
for sure.
And no. Okay. So GGG's always busy. That's just been their business model. I don't know what it's like to work there. Apparently everybody seems to really like working there, even though, the bosses always say that everything's on fire. They barely made alpha, whatever it is. Everybody that we've talked to, they seem to really like it there. Employees seem to get treated really well. Priorities are good, despite the, I would say, incompetence with being able to handle a basic schedule, right? Whenever I ask you how you're doing, you're busy, right? Long-term listeners of this show, all the way back to 2019, how's Justin's day? He's busy, right? Not a criticism. That's just, and you don't complain, oh man, I'm so busy and I don't know why. Like you never complain about it. It's just, that's your schedule. That's what you choose. That's what you do with things. Now, When Christina comes over to smooch me all the time, she says, you are a fantastic husband. When I look at you with your family, you have your priorities straight. Your family's first. Your kids love you. You always give time to your wife and your kids, old ones, young ones. Like, you have your priorities straight. You don't have a lot of personal time, but that's fine. That's your life. That's what you've chosen to do. You don't complain about it, and you have your priorities straight. Now, if you were to complain about not having a lot of personal time, you probably wouldn't get a lot of sympathy from people, because that's just the life you've chosen. You've prioritized your life around this way of life, right? At any point, you could choose to do this or that to give yourself more time. And maybe the reasons, well, I'd make less money, or maybe the reason is, like you were joking about earlier today, coincidentally, relinquishing control. Whatever the reasons would be, right? There are ways for you to get more time if that was something you were to complain about. Now, just to emphasize to the listeners, this isn't, Justin never complains about this. He's a fantastic guy with this. I'm just using, for our long-term listeners, Justin's, I was busy example of life as a consistency. So if you were to complain about it, I probably wouldn't feel too bad, but it's a life you like. So awesome. Sometimes it sucks when things get really bad, right? Like it was I guess it was a year ago now. It was last winter. And that sucks because, life happens and busy things happen. But like this week, you said it was a great week. It was a really good, really busy. But you throw that with GGG now, right? Whether it's running a company or not, it's tough to feel bad for them.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it sucks because, there's a lot of people that work really hard and do a great job, but they don't choose the schedule. Almost everybody there isn't in control of what they do, what happens to their product once they're finished with it, right? When they're finished their stash tabs, when they're finished their models, when they're finished their audio, they finish the job, they move on to the next one, and then the people ahead of them, in charge of them, do what they want with whatever that is. And so I feel really bad when people work this hard, but it's just scheduling incompetence, really. Because think of it this way. Yes, it's a new game, but there's the old proverb or the old wise sayings of, if you can't do the little things, you're not going to be able to do the big things well. I don't know, what could you use an example of? Something like lying, I guess you could say. Like, let's say I have a problem with lying, right? And I always want to make the situation a little bit better, a little bit less offensive, or a little bit less like this. So let's say I have a problem of always throwing in a little bit of lying to, are you super still? Oh, you moved. Okay, you are. We've been having tech issues, so I want to make sure you can hear me. And so let's say I throw in little white lies every now and then whenever I'm talking. And that's an issue that I have, and I want to get better at that. But if I keep insisting on doing that, and I don't stop using the small little white lies with the completely insignificant stories, right? Like, there's just the small things in life. If I don't practice it with the small things, how am I all of a sudden going to be able to have a completely honest story when something important happens, when a big story happens, when I'm talking to my wife about something important, or a police officer, or whatever it would be? Like, if you can't do the little things, you're not all of a sudden going to be really great when it really matters. And so it kind of like, I guess my point is like, they kept getting away with poor time management beforehand. You know what I mean? And now that the most important part of their company is happening, the small problems with time management are now just grossly magnified. And I feel bad for them, but it's been a long time as well. You know what I mean?
The only reason that I feel bad for them is because of the crap that they get on them from people being just like overly angry. When it comes to scheduling and time management stuff, we have no idea what happens with inside that building. We have no idea what their timeline scheduling actually is. And I think he made mention in his thing that they realized, I think in October, that they weren't going to be able to get the 326. There was something that happened in October, and that's when they pulled people off. And my feeling though is I would bet they have some understanding at least, or some direction or plan for where they're going, what their timeline is. They may not know set times. I would just rather them never, ever, ever tell us anything regarding a timeline and just do your thing. And whenever 0.2 comes out for PoE2, 0.2 comes out. Whenever 327 comes out, it's one of the struggles they've had. If you go back for however long they run leagues, and it ran mostly every 3 months and then it moved to every 4 months, you've built an expectation from the player base of, I'm going to have some new content to play every 3 to 4 months. The PoE 2 comes out, obviously that's a big blast of new content, but you made promises leading up to that said that PoE 1 would continue to run. So there's a fair expectation from the player base of, well, okay, maybe we'll give them a couple months, 4 or 5 months, but obviously we're well past that now, and it's sounding like it's going to be even more past that. So I think they put themselves in this position, but I also think that by communicating less on the timeline related stuff would be in their benefit, because if they tell us that, hey, we're working on 0.2, we're wanting to bring out 327, we're really excited about it, and you'll see it soon. There's less for me as a player to be angry about, because you haven't said, like, first off, he said you're not going to see 327 until after 0.2.
26.
Don't say that. Don't tell people that. Why? Like, they don't need to know that. They just need to know that you are still planning to release a 326. And I think the longer it takes for 326 the next one?
I think so.
We're on 325 now. Whatever the next one is, however long it takes, I hope that they don't try to get back into a 3 to 4 month rhythm with Path of Exile 1, because they just won't be able to sustain it, at least not for a very, very long time. If you're talking about Path of Exile 2 needs 6 more classes, 27 million more ascendancies, 3 more acts at least, and then endgame still needs to be obviously fixed up.
And don't forget skills.
Right. But all of that stuff means that's a lot of development time. It is not going to be a short period of time for that to come out. So to me, as a player, I need to understand that means that's the focus for them. And whether Path of Exile 1 players like it or not, that's where their big player base is. Like, they have more people playing Path of Exile 2 than Path of Exile 1 by a pretty large amount. So I don't agree with the whole idea that you're turning your back. I've seen people turning your back on your major player base, your PoE 1 player base, blah, blah, blah. If they turned off Path of Exile 1, I could agree with you. If they said, hey, we just can't keep it up anymore, Path of Exile 1 is going to phase out by this date, then I could see people being like, what the hell? That's not really cool. You promised you would keep it. But I think it was extremely unrealistic of them to have promised that they were going to maintain both games, especially with leagues, concurrent leagues through 2 different games, 2 different types of leagues as well. It wasn't even like it was going to be the same league in each one. I just think that was all relatively unrealistic. And I think they would have saved themselves so much grief going back forever ago to just not put out hopes and their ambitions for what they want to do, and instead just talked about what they've done. We've got this ready. This is what's coming next.
There's wisdom in generic comments. Because when you are specific, it allows people to latch on to something specific. And we've had that issue just with us, and we're a little bit more apathetic when it comes to the specifics. I mean, there are obviously specific things that drive us nuts, but overall, like I'm like yourself, like, I'm not touching Path of Exile 1. I think what they promised for Path of Exile 1 in the past was, you go back into our previous episodes and we're going to sound like oracles. But like, we're just
most people had to have thought the same thing. Like, it just, if you were a long time Path of Exile 1 player, it was pretty obvious that they were just not going to have the manpower to do what they were hoping to do. And maybe when Path of Exile 2 is fully done, they might, but I don't think so, because if Path of Exile 2 is anything like Path of Exile 1, development doesn't stop when the full release comes out. It continues,
especially with this game.
Right. So it's unrealistic to think that they can keep up what they were doing for 10 years on a game now with a second game. I've never been able to understand that. It's always surprised me it surprised me huge when they said it. So this video did not surprise me even a tiny bit, but I also would have rather this message be way shorter, way more generic, no dates at all, and maybe proofread by somebody who's like got a bit of an understanding of like how it looks. Because I love Jonathan. Jonathan's awesome, but Jonathan is a developer. He's a game developer. He is not a public speaker. He's not you know what I mean? Like his where he shines is in this game development, and they're very good at what they do. I know people don't like it. I would rather see less communication. I would rather see exciting communication when something's done and it's coming out. I don't really need to see
If you have a roadmap, I agree.
Yep. Well, yeah. I mean, I would love to see a roadmap for PoE 2. I just think it would be cool to see not a timeline in the sense of like by this month, but I would love to see that they plan to release this class and then, you know, a couple of just some order to what they're hoping to do versus what we're doing right now. And as much as endgame needs fixing, which it 100% does, I don't think that's where the focus should be on development. And that's coming from a person.
Because you said that last week. I was going to ask if you still agree with yourself.
I'm 94 now with my sorceress. I am playing endgame a ton. I've now beat every boss. I did beat the Arbiter finally.
Congrats.
And got to 94.
I wish I knew how difficult of an achievement that was. So I'm sorry for my apathetic congratulations. It's not apathetic, but I appreciate it.
The problem was I had to very much focus on making it boss centric so that I didn't have to go through too many of the phases, just because they are a little bit frustrating with the one-shot mechanics. But I've done, besides ritual, I've done all of the content for the most part now, and I really do enjoy endgame. I'm surprised that I'm still getting onto my character and running maps. There's very little purpose in Path of Exile 2 right now in the endgame, but that doesn't really seem unfair to me. Like I could go play a different class or a different ascendancy. Like I'm playing an early access game that is nowhere near done, and as much as endgame definitely needs some love and some fixing, because I think it's broken. I really think it's way too gated to a person who has way too much time to play. That's not where I'd want to see them developing. I want to see them developing classes and ascendancies and skills and just new stuff. That's like, I know it didn't sound like that's what they're doing from his video. It sounds like they're definitely putting a bit of a focus into endgame still, which I don't know where I fall on that one. I would rather see them not do that, but
I'm curious what they think of the campaign. Like for him to say hundreds of thousands of people are displeased with his game. I'm really...
What was that even based on? How do you know that?
I don't know. Because of what? I don't know. Hopefully they don't like... obviously how they dealt with the influx of communication to customer service wasn't optimal. They apologized for that a couple of weeks ago. But it's still one of those things where it's like how... We've talked about in the past, just when it was just PoE 1 and PoE 2 was just a dream. How do you filter feedback when, sure, some of it's emotional, some of it's outrageous, some of it's like, if my bill is stupid, they don't see the bigger picture. Sure, some feedback is easy to, okay, that's garbage, let's filter that out. But so much of it, you have to read through well and know the game's state, not from your perspective, but from someone else's perspective, a more vanilla perspective, right? A 5,000 hour player versus somebody who's knows the ins and outs and doesn't realize, oh, that's stupid. Why would you do that? You know what I mean? Like they just almost too much experience. How do you filter that kind of feedback for a game like this? And now to add PoE 2's influx of players and all the feedback that comes from it. And it's like, oh, well, you should do this, and this. But that's just because that's what Diablo did or what Torchlight did or whatever. But maybe it doesn't suit the game. Like, it's just, I don't know how they filter through it, man. I don't know. Like, that to me seems impossible. More impossible than dealing with 500,000 emails.
Yeah, I don't know either. I don't know really.
And kudos to them for dealing with it. I just hope they have a system.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't imagine being on that support team and having to deal with all of those. For me, my personal feeling is that Path of Exile 2 is fine. It needs some fixes. It's got some issues, but it's fun to play. And I'm excited to see them change things and add new things to make it different and new experiences when you're playing through it. But I'm enjoying it right now more than I did playing Path of Exile 1 for me. It's probably just because I'd played it for so long. I would get this dopamine, super fun hit for a month. When a new league would come out, I'd play the new content.
An average of 4 months, sometimes 2, sometimes 6, but average 4.
What do you mean? Per league?
Weeks. Yeah.
Oh, weeks. Sorry. Yeah. Yep. So I would get, and it would be really fun, but then I just done all of it. And that's probably why PoE 2 is still fun. Cause there's still stuff to try, still stuff to do. And, the fact is, I don't think they should be basing anything off of a level 94 character at all. I don't think what my game experience right now is what they should be focusing on developing for fixing, because I've played a lot and I'm playing only endgame. And endgame, while it is going to be the focus for them in the end, they still have so many other things that need to come out. They have all these classes, all these ascendancies, all these acts. Endgame is not great, but it doesn't need to be. It can be fine as it is right now. And it just means a player who wants to be heavy into endgame maybe should go play PoE 1, because their endgame is more tuned up and it's more in the right spot for where it needs to be. PoE 2 is not.
Free.
They're all free. And it's still there. So I blame GG for the backlash, because I think this video should have been done a bit differently. But I do not at all.
And earlier, if they knew in October.
Yeah, see, that's another. Don't say that. Why would you say that? That was another thing when I heard him say that. I was like,
oh.
No, him and Chris, no kidding, they're buddies, man. Because those two guys are just like professionals at saying the silliest things sometimes. And I'm like, why?
Do you think Chris is gone?
Gone?
Yeah, like GGG. No. It was brought to our attention. I don't know when the purchase happened. I think it was in 2023. But Tencent bought out the rest of the company. Like, it's just all Tencent's now. So that's one thing that actually we should have emphasized right at the beginning. There is absolutely no doubt that these people care about this game and their player base. Like, I wish we started with that. I wish I remembered to say that right at the beginning. These apologies are legit.
Oh,
they're heartfelt. Sure. Like, it's not just for income. It's not only crowd control. Like, it's just from the heart, and it's legit. They really wish they were doing a better job with the things that they're apologizing for. And like my wife was saying this week, because I showed her the video. And of course, you and I are a lot more skeptical and apathetic to it because we've been, not necessarily hearing the apologies, but used to like what the apology was about for years with Path of Exile 1. But she hears that and she's like, dude, you got to chill out a little bit. What other game developer have you ever heard do this?
100%.
What did you hear this when you played Blizzard games? No. Do you hear this about Madden? Do I hear this about Sims? Do I hear this about any of the other games that I play? No. Like, these guys are, and I mean that generically and not in a sexist way. Where we come from, guys, is generic. It's like, dude, the people that work there, including, of course, Jonathan, who's always on TV, they just truly care. They want this to be a better experience for us. So I was laughing with Justin, like, for what is that? Let's pretend it was a 3.5 minute video. I messaged Justin and I'm like, man, for 3 minutes and 20 seconds, my attitude was, well, yeah, obviously, what's new? Right? Not really feeling bad for them. And then the last 10 seconds, I'm like, oh, now I want to cry. I feel so bad. Like it's tough. It's tough. But I was going to say, I wonder if Chris is gone. Like,
I can't imagine he is. I'm sure
I
he's
wouldn't
doing
think so
something
either,
there.
but it's just like pure silence.
I mean, maybe it would be tough to have two faces. I think right now it would never ever be a good time for Chris to reappear, because I think it's unfortunate. I hope Jonathan has a thick skin. I know a lot of them back in the day, besides Chris at that time, stopped reading Reddit because of how nasty people were. I hope that either Jonathan has a thick skin, or I was actually thinking to myself yesterday after I watched the video, I hope that when he puts a video out like that, or their team puts a video out like that, they post that video and never look at anything again, because I don't feel like the feedback from it is ever good. Even my feedback is, okay, obviously don't say that next time. It means nothing. Like that they're doing what they need to do. They're trying to do the best that they can. And it is, you're like, Aaron's right. There is no other company out there that does something like this with such a large game and such a large player base, and not just a large player base, but a very, faithful. I don't know what the word, faithful. Yeah. Like these people who play Path of Exile 1 love Path of Exile 1.
A lot of the people that are pissed because this is like their game. There's no other game like it. They desperately want this to be good.
Yep.
And it's just not coming out in the most edifying fashion.
I think people just need to remind themselves that they are not taking anything away. They're just slowing down when new things come out. Like nothing has been removed. You can still play Path of Exile 1. You can still play Path of Exile 2. And while it may not be new content in Path of Exile 1 or fixed content and new content in Path of Exile 2, it's still content that you can play. So I felt bad. I hope they don't do many like this. And I hope that they get way more generic and say, like they could have just said, hey, we've got a bit of a delay. We're coming out with 0.20. We're really excited to show you guys 3.26 for Path of Exile 1 and left it at that. No timeline, no expectation, no telling us you pulled a team off of something. Like, I don't need to know that.
I do think the apology was wise though. Just because of the promises they had. Like there does come a point where 3 months, like remember how antsy people would get when they're excited for the next league long before early access. And it was like, and it was at the stages where you weren't sure if it was going to be a 3-month league or a 4-month league, but people are getting antsy around the 2-month mark because that's around when the promo would start for the next league if it was a 3-month league. And so then you'd get people getting antsy and frustrated. Like, but when did Kelgore come out? 325? Like we're talking a long time. And because of the promises they had about Path of Exile 1's development not being impacted by Path of Exile 2's development, you have to say something. And I think they were wise to say something. I think even though apologies preceding each other with no buffer in between, especially like when you've had your 0.1 patch post Christmas and then all of a sudden it's just silence, without any other anything. Yeah, they're working hard. Like it's not a criticism. Like, and they like, I think the lack of patches has actually been a good thing because I think they're considering a lot of changes with the bigger picture that impact. Okay, well, let's not bother changing this yet because that might be irrelevant if we change like this bigger umbrella. So I think that's all good, but it's such bad timing when you're excited for, or let's say you're not happy with Path of Exile 2 currently, and you're excited for the next league for Path of Exile 1 to carry you through until the next big patch for Path of Exile 1. And you go from like one big apology to you deserve better to another apology where you deserve better. And it's tough. You know what I mean? So, but like you said, nothing's get taken away, but I think this also works in GGG's favor long term. They've had 2 posts now, video apologies about you deserve better. Like we're working really hard. We're figuring this out. And I love the humility of, we've still got a long ways to go to figure out how to run 2 games simultaneously. Awesome. Love the humility. But it's early access. A lot of builds are getting cut down. And that's the way it is. Who's that's just the way it is, right? That was my Tupac right there. I
mean, we don't even know that builds are going to get cut down with 0.2 or whatever. I like that.
Not necessarily with 2.0, but in general, the current state of annihilating how you can just currently annihilate stuff. That's not going to stay.
That has to stay unless they find some other solution to endgame because,
of course,
like I don't really know. In the end, that's a them problem. I agree. I like that there's less patches. I think an early access should be very big changes when they do make those changes. But sorry, I was just writing down cough there. What was I going to say? I'm fine with no timeline. I'm fine with just being excited that 0.20 is coming and them teasing it a little bit. But like, I really hope that at some point they stop giving dates and timelines because even this last one, he still made promises, and I don't think he should have. To promise that, we're going to see the next league after the 0.20. What happens if you launch 0.2 on PoE2 and there's a big problem?
All right. Even this last patch, it only had one crash fix, and it didn't launch properly. And so then there's an edit to that post saying, "Oh, it's now working properly. Yeah. We fixed the issue that this issue created."
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm excited for whatever they do decide to do. It does not bother me at all. It certainly does not surprise me even a tiny bit. And I think if somebody's acting surprised, you were just confused.
They're new to the game. They're new.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess that's not totally their fault because it was something that Grinding Gear Games said they were going to do. But I think Grinding Gear Games needs to find a good way to communicate without communicating. I don't know what the answer is to that, but they need to be able to communicate without talking about things.
They just hire you and be like, and you're like, Dumb?
Take that
not
out.
Dumb. Dumb.
Take that
not
out.
dumb. Why is this more than 60 seconds?
Yeah.
Why is this a video?
I love seeing Jonathan talk.
Me too.
And I think
like
one
it.
of the biggest benefits they have, it was the same with Chris. Those two both just exude their love of the game and the love of the player base that play it. And I think it's very good for them. It helps them, especially in a time where you have to be, it sucks. You're humbling yourself a bit and having to apologize. I think you just take away a lot of that by not saying too much more. And not giving people I don't want to say don't give people hope for the future, but don't give people specifics. The fact that, to be honest, I actually am surprised that they're even saying that 326 is still going to come out. I didn't think they would. I was very comfortable in thinking that PoE 1 was going to stay where it was. I just didn't see. And if it does, I hope that if they come out with another league, they do not give any expectation whatsoever that these are going to be 3 or 4 month leagues. But man, I'm trying to wrap my head around it now, even as we're talking about it. So they want to launch PoE 2 0.2, and then they plan to launch 3.26 after that, or whatever the next league is after that. I honestly cannot fathom how. How do you launch a brand new league mechanic? Everybody who's played Path of Exile for any amount of time knows that a new league launches and it is amazingly fun, but probably a bit of a shit show for the first couple weeks. How do they manage that while also having to deal with PoE 2 and all this stuff? I don't understand. I don't get it.
And after all this, you think 326 is going to have small numbers or huge numbers at launch? It'll be massive numbers.
Massive numbers.
I think it'll be one of their biggest intro weeks ever, just because of, like you said, the redundancy with the current end game system, right? There's people that agree with me with the leveling process. And so like there's people on both sides of the spectrum when it comes to PoE 2, whether they're having fun or not. There's the redundancy aspect. 326 comes out. I'm really curious how many people that are like us that say, PoE 1 is done. I'm only PoE 2 now. I'm curious how many of those types of people would even come back. There's a lot of people that haven't cut out PoE 1, and I just think those numbers would be huge.
I think that they would be big, especially because PoE 1 has a very, very solid end game. Like their end game is really good. It has a lot of stuff to do, and it's relatively well tuned for the most part. So if you are introducing a league mechanic that somehow has something to do with end game, I can see a lot of players, because right now the fact is in PoE 2 endgame, you kind of hit a wall. Like there's not a focus or a direction. You're just going over these maps over and over. If they do something for PoE 2, I really hope they come up with new map layouts, because I hate them. They're too big, and there's like 6 of them. Like I just feel like I'm constantly doing the same maps, and if you don't like one, like there's a couple where I'm like, man, I don't like that layout. I don't like that boss. You've just cut out like a 1/6 of all your options on this massive, massive atlas. So, but in the same thing, I still don't think endgame should be their focus. I really, really don't. I want to see classes. I want to see ascendancies. I want to see skills. I want to see acts. Like I want to see game stuff, not endgame stuff. So,
No, but I have a question. I wasn't actually expecting to talk on this announcement for more than 5 minutes, let alone the episode. No, don't be sorry. Don't be sorry. We were 50-50, and it was good chat. And go back to it too. Chat, timestamp, AI, personal life. Just joking. I want to ask you, because when I'm playing now, sure, every time I level, I go through the vanilla experience. I want to know what it's like. If this was going to be, like a build or a guide, how would they do this at league launch? Like I enjoy leveling. Well, I don't enjoy leveling currently, but that's how I enjoy eventually going to level whenever it works out. Does the game feel the same to you? I know there's different, like gems are different and the tree is different and just skills are different. But in terms of like when you're actually sitting down to play, do you feel like it's the same game, or do you feel like it's a different game? And my example, and I did hear your answer, but let me give you an example. In Path of Exile 1 with strong boxes, there were a lot of different mods that could change how the strong box was or interacted with you, but it didn't change how you interacted with the strong box because of all the different things that could hurt you. Basically, you just needed to be freeze immune or have a freeze immune flask, whatever method that was. You would click on a strong box and you would move away. Let whatever happened, didn't matter on any of the modifiers. You would wait for the initial of damage to show up, and then you'd go in and it would be a normal fight. And so no matter how different they tried to make strong boxes, every single strong box, no matter the modifiers, was always the same experience. Kind of like with that example in mind, do you feel like no matter all the changes they're making to Path of Exile 2, at the end of the day, the combat experience feels quite similar to Path of Exile 1? You're still having to deal with things in the same way. Do you still have to deal with like invisible stats because you have no idea what's coming around? Is it still like clearing the screen is the most important defense type of thing?
I feel like it is very much still playing the same game, but I personally feel like it's playing it but better. I think that they've fixed a lot of the stuff that was a bit annoying, but I think that's also introduced, or it's not that has introduced, but there's just been new things that have been introduced that are making things difficult. I think they've actually fixed a lot of things with PoE 2, but I do feel often that I'm just playing an upgraded version of PoE 1. I think that the way that they've dealt with jeweler's orbs and getting your supports onto skills is way better in PoE 2. I thought the freedom of changing your gear out without fear of links is a massive, it's just a huge improvement between the two. And the fact that once I level up that skill, I can use it anywhere. It's now a 4 or 5, 6 link, whatever I've gotten it up to. I think you talk about strong boxes. Strong boxes are very similar, but they're better. I can click the strong box. The monsters aren't there right away, but then they're all there and I fight them. So I deal with the modifiers. I don't have to dash away like I used to all the time with a strong box. So I feel like in most cases, I'm just playing a slightly better version of PoE 1. I mean, it looks way better. Action-wise, like the actual fighting-wise, I'm just running my head through most of my characters.
Let me ask you a question while you think about the action wise. Is combat meaningful / react? Oh, what's the word? Do you have to react?
Reactive.
Yeah. Is it reactive? I know bosses are different they've gone a few steps up in boss fights, but in terms of your mapping experience, are you reacting a lot more in combat experiences because of what your threat is? Not necessarily like on death effects, but like animations. Are you recognizing attacks?
There's some mods that you have to be careful with. There's some types of bases of like it's called an Eternal Knight, which is incredibly frustrating to fight with Spark because they launch a projectile every time you hit them with a projectile. So imagine Spark bouncing off them a bunch of times while their shield's up, and all of a sudden they're launching these massive projectiles at you. So you have to plan a little bit around those guys. As a mind over matter player, Mana Siphoner is probably the most terrifying mod in the whole game. But so there is like some reaction, but in the end, it is still the same thing. You're getting your skills off and you're trying to kill as many things as you can. I think rares to me are almost exactly as they were with regards to how you fight them in Path of Exile 1, which is just try to kill them as fast as can. And I don't tend to play though where I'm playing a long fight, so you notice it more in the leveling phase. I have to say, like, as much as I don't want to play melee now, melee was the most fun for me as the introduction of PoE 2 because it was so different. It was this slow attack. I still think they can make melee better with the mace stuff. I just think it needs to be a little bit quicker, or like they have to figure something out, because there was a great comment somebody made, and I brought it up in one of our episodes. We're playing Path of Exile 2 with Path of Exile 1 mobs. And that's really hard. It's really tough to play against mobs that are being given the same freedom they had in PoE 1 to run their asses off like crazy, but you can't. You're much more limited. And I'm fine with that. I actually think the movement pace and speed of Path of Exile 2 is actually pretty good. I don't feel like I'm speeding through a zone. I don't feel like I mean, those maps are fucking massive, but they take me time to actually complete them. And for me, it's been a lot of fun, but it is very, very similar. It's just an upgraded version of Path of Exile 1 to me. So
okay. I was curious because I'm not in endgame, but to me, I find that my experience is the same. I'm having to build my character for blind, like for things that I'm not noticing. I have to kind of build blind defenses. You know what I mean? It's just building my resist so that I can take a whole bunch of the damage that I can't see. In the campaign, I'm getting swarmed, right? And it's all just about, I feel like I'm dealing and reacting to the same problems in the same way. But like I said, I only really am doing the campaign in the vanilla standpoint.
But you're not
right
doing
now,
it just in the vanilla standard. You're also doing it with probably the worst class in the game. So like
I'm curious. I really hope that gets touched on. Like I know that's a me thing. You know, I'm just taking my personal experience, but I really hope they do a little bit of a balance. It's just that one thing, like how the witch starts versus the sorceress, those two starting trees, they seem so unbalanced, which we've talked about to the umpteenth degree. But at some point, every starting node is going to have two classes. You got to get the ones you've released first before you start introducing copies of the other, because then, like with loot with Path of Exile 1, you have to come back to it.
I think at some point they come back to the leveling experience. I think for me, the leveling campaign experience is, I can relate it exactly to the end game, which is it's too late gated. End game mapping and trying to progress your atlas is way too far late game capped. I can't really start doing the breach, the ritual, the delirium stuff until I'm already finished all of the atlas, and now I have to like grind out these things. I think that's silly. It doesn't make any sense to me, especially because breach, for example, becomes so much harder and so much more fun as you're able to progress the atlas points. But I'm not even able to do that till I'm playing a class that's been playing forever. I'm very high level at that point. I feel like the leveling campaign is very similar to that, where I'm feeling like I'm pathetic early on. With most classes, sorceress by far was the worst. But you start to at least feel like you're gaining some strength as you get further in towards like the end of Act 3 and then the beginning of the second act run through, which is fine, but it's just a little bit too slow, especially when you're bringing in so many new players. You don't want players that are running around feeling like they can't kill something. But I don't know. I have no idea what the answer to that is. But I just know that for me, the sorceress has been so much freaking fun now at endgame. I've got like actual good gear. I've worked for Zuka and Kardas were both helping me readjust my build to try and get some different ideas, which has made it a lot of fun, and swapped out some gear, and I'm having a great time with it. But I also will play trade. I will buy items if I need them. I'll sell items, and for me, that's what makes it fun. I am not interested at all in the solo self-found experience. I just don't feel. For me personally, Path of Exile has never been that. That's a Dark Souls thing for me. Because I can go and farm the thing I want. There's just too many things to want in Path of Exile that trying to do it all by myself is just like, nah, I don't want to. It's not fun.
I mean, I know you know this, but I'm totally different. Like to me, if I get something, I'm fine if it's for the basics, like to cap resists or something, because I know I'm going to do that eventually. Now, in this game currently, capping resists, that's passing the game to me right now, because I'm the campaign guy, right? Like it's just like I'm weak when it comes to defenses and resists, but that's just because how gear drops. So if I was to go out and now buy something to cap my resist for the leveling, I'd feel like I'm cheating, because that's not going to drop for me. Obviously, I want that to change for the leveling experience. Like I want the leveling experience to be tough, but I want it to be achievable. And but like in Path of Exile 1, I was fine capping my resist because that's what you needed to do. And it was feasible with the loot that dropped at that point.
Well,
so I liked doing it for the basics, but I never felt like it was my item unless I found it or I made it.
Yes. Yeah. I couldn't care less.
I know, but I wanted to be my stuff. Right. So it was, I'm very much pure solo self-found.
Yeah.
And I also wish solo self-found. I hope that probably not. Solo self-found in Path of Exile 2 doesn't let you share stashes with your other characters also in solo self-found.
But that's just a dumb thing. Put it on yourself. Just don't do it.
Don't.
Yeah.
Solo self-found. Well, hey, they changed hardcore to be the way that I like it. Like so many of my hardcore criticisms.
Like what? What did they change?
Well, remember like the hardcore cheating where you would like be able to portal out, portal back in. You can't portal out of a boss fight anymore, which is great.
It's infinitely easier now though to just log out if you're in a scary position, because you could pause the game. Pause the game, exit to character selection. You're out. Your character's gone. You didn't die. They made it easier. So like,
maybe they'll come up with something for the hardcore. Well, pause is new. And when they first started talking about the hardcore experience and how portals were working and that kind of stuff, the game wasn't pausable at that point, right? Like we're talking before the play test that we went to in LA, right?
You know what? You want to know why I'm able to play as much and get characters as high as I've been able to? I bet you there's a huge portion of it that comes from pause. Pause for me is incredibly useful. If I'm playing between meetings and I get a phone call, I don't have to portal out. I don't have to risk losing that map. I literally can hit pause and come back half an hour later and I'm right there. It is a massive boost for me. I think it's why I've played so much PoE2. Like Logan said, he was looking at the hours spent, mine compared to his. He's like, Dad, look how many you have. And I was like, I think I was in the kitchen. I was like, dude, go look at my screen. I'm paused right now. Like that. My time's
how many is
up.
it? Knowing that you're in pause, how many is it? How much?
Pull it up. I'm only at 370 hours.
370. I'll bring up my Xbox. I've barely been on the PC one, but I'll bring up the Xbox one and let you know in After Dark. Hang on. What did you say? You said pausing is a massive quality of life. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It is so good. And I love that they add it. And it's in co-op as well. If I pause it and Aaron's still fighting, the game doesn't pause. But if she also pauses when I pause, then it stays paused.
It's not even just pause.
Absolutely loved it.
It's like opening my character inventory, opening my passive skills like that. I would die to stuff like that in PoE 1. You get a skill.
It lets me interact with chat way more.
Yes, me too.
I love the community aspect of being able to pause because now I can bring up my character selection screen, bring up pause, see everybody complaining and be like, "Coo," and then unpause. And I mean, I get a lot of really kind private messages and offers to help and all that kind of stuff too. Thank you again for everybody that's reached out and just opened their heart a little bit and offered to let me vent. A lot of people feel really bad that I'm not enjoying my Path of Exile 2 experience so far. So thank you for everybody that's been offering to help or be there. Well, it's like me with, I was talking about GGG, not really like learning. I've been told the sorcerer sucks. I've been told, and I know like, it's not me. I'm just, obviously I hope they change it, but, I like when I signed on yesterday, I only signed on once this week and it was yesterday. I ended up quitting after like 30 minutes.
What was that? What were you doing when you messaged me and you're like, you've made me go play AoE? I was working and I saw your message and I was like,
what was it? Because I still have a witch, not a sorcerer, a witch minion character that's like level 12. And I don't like the ascendancies. Like that's my biggest hiccup right now is they released an ascendancy. This is just personal stuff.
I think you would like the
only one I like is the Hound.
Yeah, but look at all the stuff after it to the left. It's all defense.
Oh, I see it.
It's all defense.
That doesn't matter if I have crappy fire resist.
Yeah, but while I'm leveling, get good fire resist
eventually. But
you're also eventually getting that note on the ascendancy, right?
But then also physical damage is taken as chaos damage. Okay. Like that's a node that I can only take once I have gear. And that's my second ascendancy node. So. I'm not taking that thing with 15% fire res.
I mean, yes, obviously you need to get your stuff up, but get some, go on trade, Ty. Okay. Go on trade and get some fire res.
No. And so anyway, but like there's nothing else that's interesting for me. But unfortunately, with all the ascendancies that don't interest me, they released an ascendancy that has a slow.
That has one skill that you like, though.
Well, but I don't like any on the Infernalist, though I know the value of the Hound. I love the one with, what is it, the Blood Mage or whatever she's called, where curses have an infinite duration. Mm-hmm. Okay, except that comes after I have to spend 100% of the mana cost as life. Mm-hmm. Nope. That's not going to happen. So, okay, well, there's that one no, but I don't like that. The monks, neither of the monks interest me. The warriors don't interest. I mean, there is the one warrior node where it's a little bit more, like imagine how much minion damage you could get with your small passives having 50% increased value or whatever they are.
That's not the monk. That's the Titan.
That's the warrior Titan. I forget what the class is called versus the ascendancies, but like that one would be really cool. But then what else do I have? I think does that one also, I get them mixed up.
Get the rucksack, the little extra
package. I don't care about that. And then,
the rest of it wouldn't benefit you. I can't think of.
No, is that the totem one, or does that one have 15% more life?
It's got the 15% more life.
Okay,
so,
there's two. Yeah. There's two, right? But now I'm starting where, like southwest, right?
You're pathing very, very oddly.
Yeah. So now I'm looking at something where it's like, okay, I'm leveling melee, which I've heard is really good, and then I'm going to completely respec once I'm like level 60 or 70 into a minion build. Okay. Well, but you know what? On the way, there's a couple
minion spots.
A little bit, but like, okay.
I mean, the one nice thing now with if you chose to go some weird pathing route like that is you get to control the travel nodes, right? So you're not stuck with, I'm a warrior, so it's all strength. Like you can actually shift that later on. But I actually do think that, yes, I get where you're coming from on the Infernalist, but if you got past the thing in your head that's saying, well, I can't because I have 15 fire res, and got past that point to go like, but what happens when I have 80% fire res?
Super strong.
It's so strong.
It's
so defensive.
It's just boring. I don't like it. Like they don't interest me.
Yeah.
You know
so
what I mean?
You're just going to struggle through with the sorceress?
No, I'm just not going to play. I played for half an hour yesterday. So I have two characters that I'm leveling. Both sorceress, and yes, I know. But I started them after I realized that it was more sorceress than it was me as the issue with all my early access woes. And so I started them after. I know what to expect, but I'm like trying different trees, seeing, okay, maybe this works, right? One of them's a minion build, right? And yes, I'm leveling with Raging Spirits and Flame Wall, which, gosh, that hurts my heart.
You said, you said that hurts?
Yeah.
Just because you don't want to do it.
It's just that bitterness of like,
having to
really,
do it.
like that's not even a minion archetype. Like the SRS style. Sorry for Path of Exile 2 only players that never played PoE 1.
Raging Spirit.
The Raging Spirit skill that reserves Spirit right now, that used to be a skill that didn't reserve Spirit because Spirit never existed before, but it didn't reserve anything before, and it was just a pure cast. And it was called Summon Raging Spirit. So I might forever just reference it as SRS.
I will too. But it is kind of the same. Yes, it reserves Spirit, but you throw down a Flame Wall. And that's your Summon Raging Spirit. SRS isn't like your minion archetype. Like skeletons would be a minion archetype, but zombies, like that's like walking around and you have minions with you. That's the archetype. So sure, yes, the SRS in the first game has a minion tag, but that's not the archetype. That when someone's like, for example, when your wife, Christina, shows up to like, hey, yeah, I feel like having an armory around me. She's not thinking I need to constantly cast to have a very short duration minion around me. That's not. It's just a means to an end, though.
That's what I'm saying. So to me, it's frustrating that the archetype has no way of leveling. But yes, I know there is a skill that has a minion tag that can help you level. And currently that is the only way to level a minion. So anyway, I'm looking forward to those changes. I'm not trying to complain about it.
But it's painful to not do it.
Oh, you're going to beat Grenor with just skeletons on your first playthrough?
I think you can get it's not, I wouldn't want to.
Good luck.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to.
So anyway, like not trying to complain. I'm just like, I'm succumbing to using SRS and Flame Wall, and I'm hating every second of it, whatever. And then I have another sorceress that actually really suits the Chronomancer. It's just going to be cold damage. I love how Frostbolt works. I love that you just get the free pierce and just works forever. I don't know why all the skills have, like all the cold skills seem to have like 100% chill magnitude. If every skill has 100% chill magnitude, just like change how chill works by default, I guess. You know what I mean? Like it's funny that every cold skill I have or I see just has 100% increased chill magnitude. It's just funny to have that consistency as opposed to like just one or two of them having it. But this one had, I don't know. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Anyway, I really like how Frostbolt works in general. And it is actually quite good in a lot of different areas. Like you go in like the Juggernaut, what was it? Like, anyway, a lot of the areas where there are really narrow corridors
which there's a lot of them, Frostbolt's fantastic. It's really good. You're hitting enemies you can't see. You're chilling and freezing on a regular basis. Auto aim sucks, but you figure it out. And so I'm liking that aspect. And I go just like pure cold damage and cold pen all on the tree, and like a lot of those nodes are really close. And I enjoy the concept of that build. So I'm leveling both whenever I'm in the mood for it. And coincidentally, they're at the same place while I'm leveling. I still want to kill all the bosses in the campaign, with the exception of that stupid lava guy. What's his name?
Yeah, just wait till you're way higher level.
Yeah,
Dumb
looking
fight.
forward to that change. But anyway, like, so I'm at that in the Titan's Grotto down there with both of them. And yeah, anyway, like I enjoy the idea of what it is, but when I log into play, it's just not fun for whatever the reason is. And so I load up Age of Empires, and I've been discovering new preferences.
You got
in
guys?
Age of Empires. Yeah, I got guys. Just you kidding me? I got 3 hardest coming at me. I got guys.
Sweet. We got to wrap this up. I got a phone call coming in, and I got to deal with some stuff. So yeah, let's wrap this up. Forever Exiled 278. I'm Justin AK Tags.
Tyler, Wrecker of Days.
Patrons will catch you in After Dark. Everybody else will see you next week in 279. Have fun. Well, wait, no. If you're looking for more information, you find down below. We got a website, foreverexiled.com. We're on Discord. Pop in there and say hello. And Patreon and other ways to support the podcast. You'll find them everywhere. Now, goodbye.
And GGG, don't listen to anybody. Just do your thing. Just get it done. Do your thing. Team GGG. Right, Just?